Got the crew in here. All right, so we just opened up. Let's go ahead and hop on the daily chart and start breaking this down. If you haven't watched the weekly analysis video I posted yesterday, all right, this order block here, basically, this is my drawn liquidity for this week, this daily standard deviation, this large 4-hour fair value gap here. If you take that and draw it through, okay, so I'm bullish. If you drop down to the 1 hour, okay, notice we have like 4 or 5 inefficiencies here. So I mentioned how I want to see this one stay open and this one stay open. I would like for us to trade down into this fair value gap here and maybe stab down into this one. But remember, we're in that larger 4-hour inefficiency. So I want to stay in the upper half of that 4-hour fair value gap. Dollar index, it looks a mess for now. So bearish order block, last up close candle. This is a daily chart before this displacement. Trade into that there. I shared that in the weekly forecast. So I'm expecting lower prices on dollar. And these are all just new week opening gaps that I have. Let's drop down to a 1 hour. Okay, bunch of new week opening gaps here. I want to see, there's that daily order block level. We have sell side here, and that daily sell side level there. So want lower prices on dollar. So far we're pushing lower, which is what I like to see. 15-minute, you can see us reacting off of that new week opening gap. So sell side down here. So I'll go ahead and mark that up. Okay, sell side. And that's pretty much it for dollar. So we did take out this low, which is sell side on Nasdaq. Pretty much had relative equal lows. And you can see the immediate reaction right there. If we get above this high, I'm treating this candle as a bullish breaker. Low, high, lower low, last up close candle in between the two lows. I'll be treating that as a breaker, and that'll be laying on top of the opening range gap. So that'll be pretty nice if we get above this high. I'm not seeing anything right now in the Nasdaq. Just waiting to see if it gets on the same page with the Dow and S&P. Dollar really plummeting now, heading for that sell side we outlined. That's that small volume imbalance on the hourly chart. With the consequent encroachment of this wick. Right, so halfway point of this long wick here lines up perfectly with the low of that volume imbalance on the hourly chart. But I feel like we can get some displacement soon. Euro dollar is looking strong. I don't see anything trustworthy in this price action right here at all. But I know somebody's out there. They're already 4 or 5 trades in this. Somebody's out there pushing the button, but I don't see anything as of yet. Work that volume imbalance. I want to see if we leave a fair value gap here. And if we do, I want to see it stay open because I want to treat that as a breakaway gap. That will show strength to me. Everybody's been making money going short all morning, all session. Okay, stop losses are trailed above these highs. These highs are so clean, equal highs up here. But stop losses are being trailed down, trailed down, trailed down, trailed down. So a lot of buy side up here. All right, so we left that fair value gap. I want to treat this as a breakaway gap. I don't want to see price trade down into it. If it does, I want it to be just a quick little stab in there, and then we leave. But preferably, I want to see this stay open. See, that's what I didn't want to see right there. I didn't want to see us reprice and completely fill in that fair value gap. That shows weakness, in my opinion. So I don't treat every fair value gap as a buying opportunity. Some of them, for instance, this one, and you can see that's likely to be a losing trade if you bought that. But for this fair value gap here, I don't see this as a buying opportunity because again, I was treating this as a breakaway gap. So most people, they may see this and say, okay, as soon as it dropped down, I'm gonna buy it. We're in that silver bullet hour. It makes sense. But it doesn't make sense because it's a breakaway gap. Breakaway gaps, you don't want to see it traded to. You want to see it stay open after consolidating all morning and we explode up just to come right back down into it. That's weakness. That's price is still heavy to the downside. So that's why I wouldn't buy that. And as you can see, it would have been a losing trade. So knowing when to pick the right fair value gap, which silver bullet fair value gap do I use? How do you know if it's going to stay open? Okay, that's kind of the logic that I use. And then you have to remember it's only Monday. So are you really comfortable taking a buy here? Like, look what we've done all morning session. We haven't done anything. So are you comfortable risking money on a Monday with no news in a condition like this? I'm not. Low, high, lower, low. Last up close candle. If we get above this high, I'll be seeing that as a breaker. This is what I always have pulled up on my second screen, dollar index. Then I have either euro dollar or pound dollar in the top right. And at the bottom, I have ES and I have the Dow. All right, there we go. So I want to see if this can act as support. If we leave a fair value gap here, I'm going to buy that. Not trade advice. So this is my setup for the day, if I can get filled. Basically what I'm looking at, we've ran sell side so many times, grabbing lows, liquidity, resting beneath these lows, taking out lows, failed to take out this low. Okay. We form a breaker with a fair value gap. And these highs right here, too clean, relative equal highs. Way too clean, so that's my draw on liquidity. May not give us a fill here, but it's not a big deal. But since we left this breaker so much, like I prefer to see us trade above it, boom, come back down here, but we've already displaced so much. If we were to retrace all the way back down, my mindset is we're just coming back to consolidate or take out these lows. So I don't want to see us come back to this breaker now. Yeah, if this forms a fair value gap and we drop into that, that could potentially be a silver bullet on the 5-minute. But it'll have to be like a quick drop down into it and then leave, because the same logic that we talked about here on this candle, this breakaway gap, is the same thing here on the 5-minute. So notice how we've just been consolidating all morning, all session, and then boom, we get a fair value gap. This candle hasn't closed yet, but assume we get a fair value gap here. This is momentum. So I don't want to see us trade all the way back down and completely fill this in. So if we do trade into this, I want to see a quick little stab in it, and then we have to rally, because I'll be treating this as a breakaway gap, but this time on the 5-minute. But how do you manage stop loss on a 5-minute fair value gap? So if I was buying the high, this fair value gap, I would put it under mean threshold of this down close candle. This is a bullish order block. So this is why I don't trade the 5-minute, because that's a lot of risk. But I'll take my fib right there, and my stop loss would have to be underneath that because it could trade down into that order block on the 5-minute. And then relative equal highs, buy side there. So that's not enough risk to reward, in my opinion. We also have buy side above that high. But I don't trade the 5-minute. It's not ideal for me. Let's say like there's a fair value gap that forms right here and we come back down into it. I wouldn't want to buy that because my target for the morning was this buy side, these relative equal highs, and that's just not enough risk to reward. A lot of consolidation. Okay, there's nothing I felt comfortable buying or selling in here. Nothing at all. We did have this breaker form, and I wanted to buy this fair value gap here if we traded down and came back into it, but instead we just continued to rally, and now we're consolidating in this area here. So yeah, we're gonna end it here so you guys can get on about your day. Thank you guys for tuning in. Are you guys good? Any questions? Any requests? Didn't really do much this entire session. All right, cool. I'll see you guys same time tomorrow, 9:30. If you have any questions, just message me. Feel free, and I'll see you in the stream tomorrow. If you're not going to be there, have a great day.